Hello, everybody. It's an honor for me to be teaching this guest lecture in Professor D'Alessandro's class for you guys, and to be talking to you about features in phonology. I gather you have already learned a few things about the usefulness of distinguishing features, of saying features are maybe even the ultimate building blocks of representations. They are the smallest things we have in our representations. Well, that idea was actually born in phonology, was discovered, let's say, first in phonology about 80 years ago in the early 1940s. And it has never gone. So I think there is still quite a lot of consensus on the usefulness of using features in order to understand what is going on in all kinds of languages. Basically, in all languages we know, features play an important role. And we're going to illustrate that today on the basis of Turkish, and in particular of Turkish vowels. Now, so one thing you have to understand about features is binary features, so features which have a plus and a minus value, they obviously divide the set of things we talk about into two subsets. So the subset which has plus that feature and the subset which has minus that feature. So we divide our set of vowels, in this case, by using features into two subsets. And Turkish illustrates this in two very nice ways. First, the inventorial vowels, so the complete set of vowels which the language has, can be described very nicely by this kind of subdivisions. And secondly, within, let's say, the active phonology, what is going on in phonology, in order to understand what a word should look like in Turkish. So not just an individual vowel, but what a word should look like, we need these features for vowels. Okay, so first, they are very useful in giving a nice description of the vowel set we have in Turkish. Turkish has 8 vowels. Now, as I said, if features are binary, we can divide the total set of vowels into two parts, right? So in the set of 8, in the case of 8 vowels, we can divide them into 4 and 4. Actually, so that means that if we have 3 features, with 3 features, we can distinguish each of the 8 different vowels we have in a set of 8, right? So we have 3 features, all 3 of them are binary, so it's 2 times 2 times 2, and that's 8. So we can have plus 2 sets of 4. Each of those 2 sets of 4 can be subdivided in 2 sets of 2. Each of those 2 subsets of 2 can be subdivided into sets of 1. So we do 3 subdivisions and we have 8 different vowels. So we can uniquely describe 8 different vowels by using 3 different features. So what would those features be? Well, in the case of vowels, in the case of sounds more generally, in the case of consonants, but in the case of vowels, you can say those features describe what you're doing with your lips, with your mouth, with your throat, what you're doing in order to produce the vowels. So they give these phonological features can typically be seen as instructions for the articulatory organs. And in the case of vowels, there are 3, as it happens, 3 relevant instructions, namely, where in the mouth do I put my tongue? And if I say an E, I put my tongue in the front. If I say an A, I put my tongue in the back, more in the back. If I say an O, I also put my tongue in the back. You can just feel it, right? So you say an E and try to feel where your tongue is. Well, it's the front part of your tongue which is raised if you say an E. If you say an O, it's the front back part of your tongue which is raised. So that's one feature. Is it front or back? So it's plus, minus, back, let's say. So that, and actually in Turkish there are 4 vowels which are back. That would be the U, that's the E, that's denoted by the E without a dot, U, that's U, that's A, and that's O. So those 4 vowels are produced with basically the back of the tongue raised, more or less. And there are also 4 vowels which are front, which are not back, minus back. Those are E, E, Ö, and U. Okay, so we have those. So we have a nice subdivision into 4. There's another way to divide the Turkish vowels, a different way to divide them also in 4 and 4, is saying there are certain vowels which are high. That means the tongue is relatively high in the mouth. That means the mouth is relatively closed when I produce them. And there are 4 which are relatively open, which are minus high, where the tongue is lower in the mouth. So the high vowels are U, I, U, and U. And then there are 4 vowels which are lower in the mouth. So those are A, E, O, and Ö. So again, a subdivision into 2 subsets. And there's a third division we can make, so that would be the third feature that refers to the lips, lip rounding, let's say. Is the vowel round? Do I round my lips like in U, or do I not round my lips like in I? Okay, so again, that actually gives a nice subdivision into 4, 4. So the 4 round vowels are U, U, Ö, and O. And the 4 non-round vowels are I, U, A, and E. So we have a very nice, we have 3 features. Each of them subdivides the set into 2 different subsets of each 4. And together these 3 features can therefore describe the vowel set. It's a very nice symmetric vowel set. I have to admit, not all languages are as nice as Turkish in this respect. Many of them don't have this very nice symmetry in it, but Turkish does. But Turkish also does something else with these features, or at least with 2 of these features. And what that is, you can learn from studying this table here, which is also in your book, and actually in all other books I know about Introduction to Phonology, because it's so nice in Turkish. So in the first column, we have a set of nouns: ip, kül, sap, uş, son, öz, gül, and ek. Basically illustrating all 8 vowels we have seen and Turkish has. Now, if we look at the plural of these nouns, that's the second column, you can see that the plural suffix seems to take 2 different shapes. So it's either ler or it's lar. And so what is that? What does that mean? Why is that? And how do you know? When you speak Turkish, how do you know which of those vowels to take? Well, if you study these data carefully, you will notice that the ler suffix appears exactly when the stem has a front vowel. Ipler, and usler, and güller, and ekler. And the lar suffix appears exactly when the stem has a back vowel. Kullar, saplar, ushlar, sonlar. So, and the difference between e and a, that's another thing you have to realize, is also that e is front and a is back. In other words, if the stem has a vowel which is plus back, the suffix is also plus back. If the stem has a vowel which is minus back, the suffix also has a vowel which is minus back. In other words, these features, they don't just divide the whole vowel set in certain ways, but in Turkish, at least the feature back divides words in a certain way. All vowels in a word tend to be back or non-back. There are within stems, in loan words, etc. There are sometimes some kind of exceptions, but whenever you add a suffix, that suffix gets the same feature value for that feature as the last vowel of the stem, always. That's a process which is called harmony. So the two vowels are harmonic. They go in the same route. It is sometimes said that maybe let's say the historical origin of this process of vowel harmony is in ease of articulation. So you have to only put your tongue in the front once in a word. Another factor which sometimes is given, which might explain the existence of vowel harmony, is that it makes it possible to hear individual words. Because when you listen to somebody speaking, well, like I'm speaking now, I don't divide my stream of sounds into words. I don't pause after every word. So the first thing you as a listener have to do is to detect where the word boundaries are, what the words are which I say. And in a language like Turkish, that's relatively easier because you know that whenever there's a switch between front vowels and back vowels, there's probably also a boundary between two words. However that may be, it has turned into something grammatical in Turkish. It's not just some kind of tendency of sloppiness or whatever. It's a grammatical rule. It's incorrect if you say ler after a back vowel or lar after a front vowel. It's just grammatically incorrect. So it has turned into something grammatical, and it's no wonder that the similarity between the two vowels can be described by the same features which we can use to divide the vowel set into different parts. So that's one kind of suffix. Now, Turkish has a lot of suffixes. It has, for instance, also case endings. And in the third column, you see the genitive ending. And here you can see that for the genitive, it's even stronger. So the genitive has an an I, an U, and an U form. It has 4 different forms. And these 4 different forms correspond to, it has front and back forms, for instance, I and U. It has rounded and unrounded forms. That's actually also I and U, or I and U. I and U are, the difference between I and U is one purely of rounding. They're both front. So we have I, U, 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 and that's the 4 possibilities you have if you just take the features front and round. So here the suffix vowel has the same value for front and round as the vowel in the stem. The feature high-low doesn't participate in harmony, not in Turkish. Many languages of the world have a process of vowel harmony. It just happens that it's not very common in standard languages of Europe. We do find it to some extent in some Spanish or French dialects. In Finnish we find it a lot. In Hungarian we find it a lot. But outside of Europe, in African languages, there's a lot going on. Well, in Turkish, there's a lot going on. In Turkic languages, so the many languages which are related to Turkish have have this kind of vowel harmony. You find it across the world. It's a very natural phenomenon for languages to have. Okay, and now we can look a little bit at the computation of this. So we go back from our worldwide view back to the details of Turkish. And when we look at it a little bit more carefully, we can see that the third feature, or high feature, although it doesn't itself participate in harmony, still plays a role, because the difference between ler, lar, the plural suffix, and I, U, the genitive suffix, is that ler, lar has a low vowel, and of those low vowels, there's always only two variants, and the high vowel I, U, there's always four variants of those. So if you have a high vowel, it participates, like in the genitive suffix, it participates in two kinds of harmony. If you have a low vowel, non-high vowel, like e or a, it participates only in a twofold, only actually in harmony for front, back, and not for round. So it doesn't take the round features of the stem. The way that can be described is, it is described in the book in some technical detail. The way to see it is that the suffixes have a vowel. And actually that vowel might be specified in a certain way. For instance, the genitive suffix might be specified as, well, it's definitely specified as being high. So it might be specified as not being round and not being back. So it's I. Not round, not back is I. So that's in suffix. And then there is a computational process, a rule, some kind of computation going on in Turkish, that whenever you combine a root with a suffix, that rule applies, and it scans the string from left to right, and whenever it sees a new vowel, that new vowel takes over the features for roundness and backness from the preceding vowel. It just takes it over. That's basically what the process says. But taking over roundness is blocked when you have a low vowel. So low vowels don't take over that roundness feature. So that's let's say just the technical detail. What is really important is the insight this gives you, and the insight, which in this case is given by understanding features, by understanding that an E vowel is not just some sound which, unstructured sound, it's just something I say. No, it has internal structure. It consists of three features, and actually that's all there is to it. Well, maybe it has a feature of vocalic too, vowel, to distinguish it from consonants, but then that's all there is to it. It is these three features. And then there is some kind of composition of those features, and that gives you an E. So the sounds we make, at least the way they function in our language, is as a bunch of features. And in Turkish, so vowels have three features, and those features can be freely combined. So all possible combinations occur, right? So three, that's the calculation we made. So that gives us these 8 vowels. So the inventory basically is, if you learn Turkish, you learn, oh, well, there's these 3 features, they're all binary, and every combination goes. That's basically what you learn. The other thing you learn is, within a word, all vowels are either round or non-round. All vowels prefer to be either back or non-back, except that with low vowels, the roundedness doesn't really spread, so doesn't really need to be shared. So next to that, there's also a requirement on words which say, well, vowels in the word prefer to be within the same set, at least for the sets front and round, or back and round. So lowness doesn't really participate in that, and actually lowness even blocks roundness from being harmonic. But otherwise, we have this beautiful coincidence, and it's actually very difficult to understand this phenomenon. It's this rather complex phenomenon, which nevertheless occurs in so many different languages, if we don't recognize that there's more to a sound than it just being an unanalyzed sound. Thank you.